Tangi, bonjour, and welcome to another episode of Métis Time Capsule. You're, of course, with your host, Alexandria Anthony. Close your eyes for a moment. Picture the glorious summer sun touching your cheeks, the prairie winds blowing gently through your hair. I have always wondered how much of the feelings that the prairies are home, how much of it is based on the Métis blood, almost like a genetic memory of place, like a bookmark, if you will. And it really takes more than earth and sky to make a home. Kinship and community is so very, very key. It's also so important to recognize that the very old forms of Métis storytelling often incorporate cultural teachings to really emphasize behavioral expectations or codes of conduct. And I myself personally have known storytellers that use humor to teach standards of right and wrong. And this is going to be today's segment, through trickster characters. And through these, we kind of really learn the consequences of our choices. And it being the spooky season, folks, this is so relevant. And as we know, folks, we Métis, like other Indigenous people, we pass our histories, our legends, and our family remembrances down through the oral tradition. And really valuable life lessons are taught again in the Métis oral traditions. And Métis stories are really multi layered, and they can have multiple meanings. Traditional Métis stories include narratives about really malevolent spirits that transgress against the creator and society. And there are trickster-based creation or morality stories. And again, this is sort of interesting to note, is that, as we've mentioned previously, the trickster stories are often humorous based, so they've got a funny tone to them. But I also, and I remember this myself, being told this by an elder, and sort of words to live by, is that a word of caution should be noted to all those interested in Métis stories, that they should be treated, folks, with the very utmost in respect. And stories are important to Métis storytellers because they really connect the storyteller. And I find, folks, this really, really happens to me when I write and when I tell a story, that they really connect me to my elders, they connect me to my ancestors, and they also connect me to Métis languages and dialects. And interesting to note, of course, that uh, the supernatural elements are always present in traditional Métis stories. And our Métis stories really give us a strong sense of identity, and again, a sense of belonging. And there are several trickster characters in Métis stories, and I've been told by a Métis elder that the trickster can also serve as a way to really learn the truth, about ourselves and to reveal parts of our nature that we may not be really comfortable in acknowledging. And tricksters can also be portrayed as a raven. And a lot of you at this point in the segment are probably saying to yourself, okay, who and what is the trickster? So let's condense this, let's put this in simple form. And the trickster really is an imperfect hero. And of course, they're jokesters. They like to play tricks. They like to play jokes, and they like to play tricks on others. But it's also interesting to note, but uh, they're often tricked themselves, and they can both be at the same time cunning, and they can also be stupid. And male female distinction is really, it's kind of, the lines are really blurred, and they're not really evil, but they do bad things through really a lack of awareness. And the trickster has no self knowledge or life knowledge, and in spite of having divine parenthood. Trickster also demonstrates that we must not just rely on the intellect, meaning we just can't rely on our brains. We must use thought that arises from the heart as well. So, telling you that not only do you have to use your brain and think, but you have to use the thought that arises from your very heart. And some trickster names that have been used, of course, the blue jay is also a trickster figure. Uh, Chapishit is a Michif name for the trickster. Nanabush is a Ojibwe Soto Michif trickster figure. Pitchjin, Chijin, Tijin is French Canadian Michif trickster. And of course, as we've mentioned, the raven is a trickster of the Northwest Coast Indians, Métis, Inuit, and the Métis of the North. And Wishakechuk is a Cree Michif trickster figure. And tricksters are important. The trickster stories are important to help transmit traditional knowledge and to teach moral lessons. So you can also see that Métis people have trickster figures, First Nations have tricksters, Inuits have tricksters, and there's tricksters throughout every culture in the world. And this really brings me to a very, very personal story. And even to this day, I can remember the story. It was told to me as a child, and I can remember we would have these huge family dinners, these huge gatherings where, a big meal was prepared, fresh bread, meat, and everything. And there would also always be storytelling where we could remember. And even as a child, you're small and you'd be sitting there and you'd be absorbing it like a sponge without even realizing it. And this sort of it was my grandfather Albert Paul, and it was his brother. It was a story about his brother, and another figure, another supernatural figure in Métis legends and Métis storytelling is Il Jiyaab and the devil. And the devil in Métis culture legend can really take the form of a black dog with glowing red eyes, or Iljayap, the devil again, can also be a handsome stranger that just shows up at the door, that comes to a dance or comes to a party. But for this particular, my own family story, it takes the form, the devil, if you will, takes the form of a huge black dog with glowing red eyes. And a lot of Métis, even to well today, are were extremely religious people. And my own family at that particular time were extremely religious. And we're going back to the day and just picture this a carriage with a horse. So there was no cars, nothing. That the transportation of the day was cart, a carriage, and a horse. And one of my grandfather's brothers would like to, he was not married at the time. He liked to drink, carouse, and, have a good time or whatever. There was no bars back then. You would just go to these gatherings. So he had a habit of taking the horse and carriage and just go out drinking and carousing and having a good time, not a care in the world. But this particular time, he was going to do it on a Sunday, and Sunday really was not a time to go drink and carouse or what have you. So he was returning from one of these, drinking, carousing, and it was a Sunday, coming home with a horse and buggy. And he was coming home, and you know that feeling that you get when you feel like somebody has eyes, they're staring at you, and you're looking forward, and you can feel their eyes. Staring at you. He had that feeling. He was coming home, feeling good for a couple of drinks, but he still had a sense about him, and he could feel eyes, and it felt not good. And you have that eerie feeling again, your hair is standing up, and you want to go as fast as you can. So he was coming home, and all that time he had the feeling that eyes were on the back of his head, and it was a very evil, bad feeling. So, not realizing that his mother was looking out the window as he was coming home, and what she seen is that he was coming home again in the horse and the carriage, and he was really making the horses, he was whipping them to go faster because he wanted to get home. And she seen this huge black dog with glowing red eyes. But the weird thing is that the dog was running after him in the horse and carriage, but his feet were not touching the ground. They were levitating on the ground, and it was just a massive black dog with the glowing eyes. And as he was coming closer and closer to the house, she was watching through the window with dread, fear in her eyes, wondering what was going to happen. And as soon as he came very close to the house, poof, the black dog with glowing red eyes disappeared. She never did tell her son what she had seen. She was so scared out of her mind, being a religious woman and her own son going out drinking, carousing on a Sunday. But I can tell you this, folks, that the feeling of dread, horror, evil that he felt coming back, he never, ever drank and caroused again on a Sunday. So, I mean, it's open to interpretation if this was the devil or whoever it was, but his mother, did believe that it was indeed Jiyaab, the devil. This time he wasn't a handsome stranger appearing at a dance or a door, but it was indeed the black dog with the glowing red eyes. So he never, ever did that again on a Sunday. And that sort of brings, how there is a moral to a story, to our legends and our stories in regards to Métis storytelling and like the moral lessons. And to this day, hearing it as a child, it's always stuck in my mind. And without even realizing it, I figured, well, it's a Sunday, should I really be doing this? And like I said, I remember the details just like it was told to me yesterday. So again, our Métis stories, our Métis legends are told so children do not forget their spiritual obligations to the Creator. So again, folks, it's so important that we keep our Métis stories, our traditions, our legends alive and well for our children, our future generations, folks. So until next time, take care. And for all those that celebrate Halloween, happy Halloween. Take care and stay safe.